I love BTS. If you know me, you know this to be true. They've been my top stream artist for 5 years in a row, my most streamed artist of all time by far, and simply just my favorite artist of all time. I recently, 3 months ago, saw the BTS concerts in theaters, and that kind of sent me into a BTS rabbit hole. And that's when I got the idea to actually go back and listen to their entire discography with the hopes of figuring out what the best BTS album actually is. So here I am, and I'm going to be ranking all 18 of BTS's albums from worst to best. I will be ranking their 4 Japanese albums separately, and I'm going to be doing that in the lightning round a little bit later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. These rankings are mostly going to be based on my personal enjoyment on a front-to-back listening experience, but even though I already consider myself a BTS expert, a connoisseur, if you will, I did my research and I read the translations to every single BTS song, so I can speak on lyrics, album themes, and album composition. Huge disclaimer right now, so I don't get crucified. This is all just my opinion. I don't hate any of these albums. I have a lot of love for all of them, but I feel like I do have the credentials to say, hey, this album is not as good as this one. They are not, and I stress that, not all created equally. But I do love and respect the guys and the work that they put into their craft. With that being said, let's get into the meat and bones with number 14. Number 14, Map of the Soul 7. Listen, I can already hear all the keyboards typing, and I can already imagine all of the comments that I'm going to get for having this in dead last.
Get the hell out.
But please just let me explain myself.
Please just hear me out, please.
I love this album. I really do. I love the theme of, soul searching and finding yourself. I think that's very compelling. The production on this album is absolutely phenomenal. I will not lie. Black Swan is one of the best BTS songs ever. No contest. This song mainly talks about how you can die twice, and the first death is when you stop doing what you're passionate about. And I think that's really cool. And just listen to this absolute beast of a song. Very elegant, but the 808s go fucking bizarre. This shit is crazy. While I do love a lot of what this album has to offer, there are a few glaring issues. Like the worst issue of all, it's kind of a slugfest past the halfway point. This album is long, and I'm usually okay with that if the album is worth being that long. This one is absolutely not. This album does have some of my favorite and some of the best BTS songs like UGG, My Time, Dionysus, and of course Black Swan. But it also has some of my least favorite BTS songs and some of the worst BTS songs in my opinion, and a lot of those songs are in the latter half of the album, and that just makes it unexciting and boring. I'm a big fan of a short and sweet album. Less can definitely be more when it comes to creating an album. I feel like that's not crazy to say, and the other albums on this list do tend to have songs that I don't enjoy as much, but it's like 1 song out of 9, whereas this album has like 6 skips, and 5 of them are right after song 12 out of 19. So while I do love a lot of the content on this album, I literally cannot listen to this whole album without skipping 5 whole songs in a row. And I think that makes this album very weak when compared to the rest of the albums they've released. I do appreciate this album and its themes. It has really good stuff. It is just their weakest as a project. Sorry, not sorry. Moving on. Number 13. Oh, are you late too? Maybe a less controversial pick for their weakest projects. This album is honestly just kind of dated. I do love how BTS's older music is very thematically similar and that they write a lot about going against the grain and following your own dreams. They write a lot about how hard they work and how hungry they are, and that's something that they continue to write about throughout their whole career. This album is pretty full of bangers like Cypher 1,
Damn hip bullshit. Idol rapper cut that bullshit. 자기 본질은 아이돌 시시라면 날 무시. 주대 따위는 개주고 내 이름을 피우지 못하기만
Coffee, and Lovin' Skool. The intro also has a pretty cool sample that's used in Shadow, which is the Yoongi solo on Map of the Soul 7.
내 꿈은 뭐였지? 진짜 뭐였지?
I can't really say anything bad about the other songs on this album, like they are pretty solid and whimsical, but when you put it next to the songs on their other albums, there is a huge gap in my personal enjoyment. As an album, I think the theme of living how you want and following your own dream for yourself is pretty good and makes sense for this point in their career. I did mention how this album is dated though, and I think a very strong example is We On, which is very 2013 rapcore.
Whatever they say, I'm here for my music, here for my music, here for my music, whatever.
Still a banger, but in its own special way, I guess. Biggest reason this album is second lowest isn't because it's padded or anything, but some of the songs just aren't as much for me as the songs on the other albums. I don't even think there are bad songs on here, but just some skips in my own book. Solid album for the time, regardless. Number 12. Too Cool for Skool. Maybe also a less controversial opinion, but like after Oh Are You Late 2, it genuinely doesn't stop getting better. So naturally, these first two albums would be pretty low. You can kind of definitely tell that this is their first album, but they definitely do carry some of this sound forward. It's a pretty strong first project, even though there's deadass only like 3 songs, 4 including Path, which I do include in my assessment. I think We Are Bulletproof Part 2 is so fucking hype. It gets me jumping every single time. Holy self-glaze on that song. And BTS does have a lot of consistencies in what they write about throughout their whole career, and self-glaze is definitely one of those things, which I can appreciate because they definitely do deserve to glaze themselves. No More Dream is also a very solid song on this album. Like is a song that shows off how well they can do R&B music, and I think of the songs on this album, Like is definitely the most timeless. Play that shit in 20 years and it's still gonna hit. Path is a hidden track on this album, and it's a very heartfelt song about the risk that they've taken to follow their dreams, and they're just reflecting on that and looking towards the future and what that holds for them. I very much like this song. Very good songs on the album. I can listen to this all the way through, but kind of just a nothing burger in the grand scheme of BTS albums. Number 11, Young Forever. Now, I'm not denying how important this album is in the whole of BTS's discography. However, it is just genuinely 3 new songs, and the first 2 parts in the series mixed together. I love this series, so even I myself am a little shocked that this album is so low for me, but the 3 songs does not justify it well enough in a full listening experience. And that's not to say that I don't like those songs, because I do, Fire being my favorite and the 1 song added that I would actually recommend to people. The other 2 aren't really in my rotation, and Save Me is kind of a skip for me most of the time, but I have graduated from it being all of the time. Save Me is a fan favorite, I know, but it is not this fan's favorite. And yes, I do also know how much the epilogue means to fans, but it's just not my favorite song here. I would much rather just listen to either part 1 or 2, but if someone plays this album start to finish, I would still be quite pleased and ready for a good experience. Overall, what I'm trying to say is that this album is not greater than the sum of its parts. Still pretty solid though, not much else to say on this one. Number 10, B. I love this album. I would like to say that first and foremost because it almost felt wrong to put it this low, but genuinely, this is the point where the list gets really hard for me, because from this point on, I have a lot of praise to give, and honestly, just very heavy nitpicky things to say regarding some songs that just don't hit in my opinion. I do have a few things to say about this album though, but let me just start by saying that I really resonate with a lot of the songs on this album. I feel like this album really dives into themes of self-isolation and feeling inadequate, and holy moly, does that hit. And I'm sure it's not just me, but so many other people who actually read these lyrics. My first time reading the lyrics to Blue and Gray 3 years ago, I could not stop crying. Genuinely, true story, fact check. Even now when I was researching for this video, I could not help but shed a few tears, maybe like 6 or 7. This song is just so beautiful, and I think it shines alongside a few of the other songs on this album for its production. And on top of this insanely sad song, one of BTS's best songs is also on this album in the form of Disease. Like some of the best flows and one of their best bridges, like holy moly, they fucking cooked here. However, we knew there was going to be a however, right? I do have some personal issues with some of the songs on this album, and it's not like I think they're bad, just not my cup of tea. Except Stay. I really dislike this song. From now on, there's going to be pretty much one song from most of these albums that I will call out as pop EDM slop. And Stay is actually the worst offender of this. This one song honestly stopped this album from being a little bit higher, maybe 9 or 8. Since the album is very short, it's kind of easy to call out a song like this. And like, Life Goes On isn't my favorite song, and Fly to My Room is a song I have to be in a specific mood to listen to. Not like a Blue and Gray kind of mood though, just like a, you know what, I'll throw on Fly to My Room. Like I'll keep this song on, I won't skip it this time. So this album is very good, but just does get brought down in certain areas and makes it a bit of a harder listen all the way through than the albums coming up. Number 9.
Persona!
Now, the Persona 5 soundtrack is nothing short of phenomenal, setting a bold new standard for style and atmosphere in video games. From the moment it begins, the music oozes confidence and rebellion, perfectly capturing the game's themes of defiance, freedom, and self-expression. It doesn't just accompany the action, it defines it. Okay, obviously not Persona the video game. Game I haven't even finished, by the way. Map of the Soul Persona is a very good album in its own right, setting up the Map of the Soul series. Now at this point, you might be asking, Xavier, didn't you just talk shit on Map of the Soul 7? Map of the Soul 7 has way better songs, and it has all the songs on this album, so why is this one so much better? To which I ask rebuttal questions. Does Map of the Soul 7 have better songs on it than on this album? Is Map of the Soul 7's peak higher than the peak on this album? Yes, these things are true. I will not lie, Map of the Soul 7 has a few songs that are better than the songs on this album, but my main issue with Map of the Soul 7 is that it just gets boring.
This is what? This is boring.
5 songs to skip in a row is pretty fucking insane. Whereas this album only has one song that I'll skip and one song that just isn't in my top 30 BTS songs. But the rest, oh my god, the rest, my brothers and sisters, let me speak. First of all, Persona is Jun's best solo with actually kind of crazy production. Like there's a very good blending of sounds here and a Skool Love Affair sample. Like hello.
Let's go.
You give me
Yo. 나는 누구인가 평생 물어온 질문 아마 평생 정답은 찾지 못할 그 질문 나는 놈을 고정 말 몇 개로 답할 수 있었다.
I feel like Boy With Love is kind of coming at a very weird time in their discography because we had just finished a whole series about the joys of being in love, the pain of being in love, and then realizing that the answer is to love yourself. And it's right in the middle of more soul searching and interpersonal shit, so it's just kind of an outlier in their discography in the grand scheme of where they're at. I do not like Make It Mid, bro. I don't like make it right. This song is a snooze fest all the way for me. Microcosmos is the best ARMY song, in my opinion, and Home is one of the best BTS songs ever. And Dionysus is one of the most hype songs in their discography. Like, hello. Again, a few glaring issues in the content itself, things I don't personally enjoy, but the rest, yeah, I can definitely put this album on and be a-okay. Doesn't overstay its welcome, is home to multiple classics. The only reason this album is not higher is because the rest of the albums are just that fucking good. Number 8, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, Part 1. It honestly took me a little bit to justify this album being number 8 because I feel like there are a few songs on this album that are harder for me to come back to. Like, I definitely have more streams on Persona than I do on this album. However, I did sit there and I put my personal preference to the side because I think this album is more consistently listenable. Do I come back to Converse High? No. Do I come back to Dope? No. But do I enjoy these songs when they just so happen to come on? Yeah, I actually do. I think this album has a lot of really good moments, and those moments are extremely endearing when you know what this album actually meant for BTS and their careers. There's a skit on here where they're just talking about their expectation for the album, and Namjoon asks if they think that they're going to reach number 1. Everyone kind of goes on about how they shouldn't expect anything, which is of course easier said than done, as Taehyung points out. And it's crazy that this skit is on this album because they did that. BTS first win, they stole that shit.
Stole that shit. That's what I do, nigga. Fuck, nigga, I stole that shit.
I Need You took over the K-pop sphere when it came out, and it is one of the most significant milestones in BTS's career because it was their first win. Song is a fucking banger too. I really like how the intro is a Yoongi solo. It's one of my favorite of his, and he actually uses basketball analogies, which I enjoyed, because if you know, Yoongi actually really liked playing basketball before his BTS days, and he even came up with his stage name because of his position. Suga equals shooting plus guard. Some of the songs on here do have potential for some of the best BTS songs, like Love Is Not Over, and Hold Me Tight. Boys with Fun also just makes me extremely happy. It's very hard to not smile when this song comes on. I don't really have much more to say other than good album, very good experience, start to finish. Number 7, You Never Walk Alone. This one really hurt me. I did not want to put this album this low. This was my first BTS album, home to some of my favorite BTS songs of all time. Putting this at number 7 breaks my heart. But I do have some issues that just aren't as apparent in the later entries, so let's talk about it. First of all, this album is long, but I think that this is a scenario where the album deserves to be as long as it is. All of the members get solos on this album, which was a first for them, and holy moly, do those solos hit like a truck. J-Hope gets 2 for some reason, and they're both bangers, one more than the other. Jungkook talks about loving his brothers, Jimin talks about his self-image, Yoongi talks about music being his first love, Namjoon talks about wanting to love himself, Jin talks about inadequacy, Hobie talks about loving his mom, I guess, and Taehyung talks about killing his fucking dad. In lore, of course. Whole album is extremely personal, and I very much appreciate that. The reason I'm ranking this album over Wings is because they are the same album. It's like ranking Sticker by NCT 127 in a different spot than Favorite by NCT 127. Like, they're the same album with 3 songs added. In this album's case, though, I think it actually worsens the album. Spring Day is one of the best BTS songs ever. No question about that. I think it's top 10 material, but Not Today is Also a song that they added onto the album, if you catch my drift. Not my favorite. I think that there are a few flaws towards the end of this album specifically, and that kind of ties into my problems with Map of the Soul 7 having a few weak songs at the very end, kind of diminishing the rest of the experience. It's like reading the last 20 chapters of JJK. The rest is peak, but that ending... So yeah, I really do love this album. BTS Cypher 4 is what made me fall in love with BTS, and I do think Lie is also Jimin's best solo. "21st Century Girl" is a very hype song. I don't really like Am I Wrong that much, and this album does in fact have pop EDM slop. Wings is not my favorite of these kinds of songs, and I'm sorry to say it. I do have a very real attachment to this album, but it does unfortunately get beat by the other 6 albums on this list in a front to back listen. Number 6. Dark and Wild. Now you know the list is getting really hard when I have to put Dark and Wild at number 6. I'd only ever heard the entirety of Dark and Wild once, 5 whole years ago, but there were in fact some bangers that I took home with me. Some of my favorite at the time were War of Hormone and... yeah, that was it. Wait, War of Hormone? The catcalling song? Yeah, so needless to say, I didn't give it a fair chance when I had first heard it. However, over the years, I started collecting more songs like they were infinity stones. I was slowly but surely becoming a Dark and Wild enjoyer. Look here. What am I to you? Let me know. Cypher 3 and my own personal soul stone. Do you think it makes sense? Do you think it makes sense as one of BTS's best songs ever? And I actually, truly, wholeheartedly believe it's top 3 material, and it might not even be number 3.
Listen. 그게 말이 돼. 그게 말이 돼. 그렇게 쉽게 우리 사랑이 변한다는 게 아무도 모르게 괜찮아 보이게 널 만나다가 네 표정 하나에 지금
The rest of this album is still very good. Like, Danger definitely grew on me over the years. Could You Turn Off Your Cell Phone is another song that's been doing it for me recently. Hip Hop File has not grown on me too well, but I still think it's enjoyable for the most part. This album is mainly about the concept of being, quote, dangerously in love. A lot of the songs are almost like a cry for help in a relationship. The intro is about feeling as though something is off, like they don't feel the same, and Danger kind of plays into this as well, feeling like you think of someone way more than they think of you. Embarrassed is about feeling, well, embarrassed for being weird in front of a girl you like, and Could You Turn Off Your Cell Phone is about the other person paying more attention to their phone than you. So a lot of resonant topics when it comes to love. This album also talks a bit about their experience as artists. Hip Hop File's just them shouting out their inspirations so you know they're really about this shit. J-Hope is actually a huge J. Cole fan, to the point where he says Hope World as a tagline, like J. Cole says Cole World. So 4 More talks about their experience as second years in the K-pop industry. So 4 More, sophomore, second years, get it? And what that's been like for them. So overall, very solid thematic elements on this album, and the consistency is just crazy. Like, it's just insane from start to finish, and for that, Dark and Wild is one of my favorite BTS albums. But if it's not top 5, what are the top 5? Well, I'm glad you asked. But first, we gotta talk about the other BTS albums. No, not that one. These ones. Remember how I said I'd rank these in a lightning round? Well, here is the Japanese album lightning round. Let's go. Every one of these has exactly 3 original Japanese songs, so I'm going to be ranking these based on those 3 songs alone. Not on like themes or composition or anything crazy like that, just the songs and how I personally enjoy them. At number 4, we have Youth. Very chill and calm songs on here, and I think the songs are pretty enjoyable, just not my favorite at all. At number 3, we have Face Yourself. All 3 of these songs are pretty solid in their own right, and they are definitely pretty good. Crystal Snow has a lot of potential as an anime ending, and the other two are actually pop EDM bangers. At number 2, we have Map the Soul, The Journey. The only reason this one is so high is because Your Eyes Tell is actually really fucking good and actually one of my favorite BTS songs. Fucking banger. The other two songs are kind of And at number 1, we have Wake Up. I mean, come on. Anabashode was my most streamed song in 2021. Wake Up is one of their best Japanese songs, period, without a question, and The Stars is actually bomb as fuck. This is their best Japanese project. Okay, back into the main albums, let's go! Number 5, Love Yourself, Her. It really only is up from here. The only reason this album is at number 5 is because I do not like Best of Me. Pop EDM slop. However, the rest of this album is a fucking banger. I don't know what to tell y'all, bro. This album starts off their Love Yourself trilogy by talking primarily about the joys of being in love, the euphoric aspect, the part that's loving being in love with someone. I love that this starts off the series because you might be thinking, isn't this album called Love Yourself? Why is it about loving someone else? To which I would say, let them cook, they're getting to it. See is one of my favorite BTS songs ever, and it's unfortunately a hidden track, so not available on streaming platforms. Even disregarding the themes of the song, sonically it just hits so fucking hard, bro. Like, listen to this, bruh. Serendipity is a contender for best BTS intro, only beat by a few other songs. DNA is one of the best BTS title tracks, and it hella put BTS on the map. First K-pop group to hit 1 billion views on a music video. Dimple is peak vocal line. Pied Piper is definitely a top 25 contender. Mic Drop is Self Glaze, which was deserved. I really used to dislike Go-Go because I thought it was kind of stupid, but I've grown into my whimsy and now I'm kind of stupid. So I like this song. And Her is a great outro. I think it's definitely an outlier in rap line tracks because it's very chill in comparison to their other tracks, especially when compared to the next rap line track that gets released. This album is phenomenal, aside from Best of Me, and I think that it gets almost everything right, especially considering where it stands in the series it kicks off. Great album, great experience, I love this one. Number 4, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, Part 2. This one was really hard to rank because I think on a front to back listen, there's so much enjoyment to be had, and some of the best BTS songs are on this album. There are times when I will consistently put 3 of this album's tracks into my top 10. Butterfly is such a beautiful song, sonically, lyrically, everything about it. This one is a top 5 contender. Autumn Leaves is another banger, same kind of vibe as Butterfly sonically and thematically, but also very distinct. And I feel like I don't really have to say much about House of Cards, one of their best and surprisingly iconic songs. This song stands out because it's sexy. They get so sexy on this fucking song, like the Weeknd music, bro. Raise your hand if you've had sex to this song. The other songs on this album stand out because they're a little personal. My City is a fun song about how much the guys love where they're from, and it's actually a banger. Wayland 52 is when I started to realize that the theme of this series might not be so much about reminiscing on youth, but overcoming the self-doubt that comes with youth, and I think that's beautiful. Themes of the album are beautiful however you interpret it, I think. Run is not my favorite BTS track by any means. It's just pretty good to me, not great. And Nevermind does play into the themes and works well as an intro. Yoongi talks about how he let his childhood pass him by, but he surpassed everyone's expectations. Is it my favorite Yoongi solo though? Hell nah, boy, what? I used to not like Silver Spoon, but it's grown on me because I can always get behind a song that gets me hyped. On a front to back listen, this album really shines at giving a few different sounds and showing us that BTS can do what they want and they can do it well. Short and sweet, Amazing experience to listen to with lyrics that really resonate. I love this album. Before I get into the top 3, I just want to say that I really, truly love all of these albums. On any day, this list could easily change, and I almost went back as I was writing the script to put Persona over The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1. But I wanted to be firm in my stance, and I think that as it stands, this list makes the most sense for me right now. I love BTS, I love their music, and these next 3 albums simply have the fucking sauce. Number 3, Love Yourself, Tear. I feel like me having this at number 3 is almost as bad as me having Map of the Soul 7 and dead last, so please, once again, let me explain myself. I went on record to say that this is BTS's best album, and I don't think that I was wrong for saying that. This album has everything from soulful R&B to hard raps to good pop to pop EDM to groovy ass music. I recommend this album to anyone who is even curious about BTS's music. I think it's a near perfect album. Near perfect. This album is the sequel to Love Yourself Hurt, and in contrast to that project, this one is about the hardships of love. Everything other than the good stuff. Separation, losing yourself, not knowing where to go next. Amazing contrast, what a fucking cook. This album has some of my favorite BTS songs. Singularity is definitely Taehyung's best solo, even throughout the music he's released under just his name. Fake Love is a song about changing who you are for someone you love to the point where you're unrecognizable, and it just sounds so fucking good. Paradise is one of BTS's best songs ever, and when reading the lyrics to everything to prepare to write this script, I cried listening to Paradise. It tells us that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to not have a direction or to change direction. Live your life how you want, and I really needed to hear this at the time. That's part of the beauty of BTS's music. If you actually read the lyrics, there's something for everyone to resonate with. Something someone wants to hear or needs to hear is in these lyrics somewhere. Tear is probably the hardest and also the saddest rap line track, in heavy contrast to her. J-Hope's delivery on this song low-key makes the whole thing. This is his song, in my opinion. Anpanman is a very fun song about Loki being a dreamer, wanting to be a superhero. So what is Get Ready, pop, EDM, slop. But it's a much less egregious example of it. And get ready for what I'm about to say so I don't get stoned. I really don't like Magic Shop. Overrated as fuck. I understand it's an army song and all, but I just can't listen to it. I'm sorry. Unfortunately for this album, because I feel like if Magic Shop wasn't on here, this album might crack top 2. Near perfect album, very few flaws, but the flaws are heavily, and I cannot stress that enough, heavily overshadowed by how good the rest of the album is. So for that reason, this album is a top 3 BTS album. Number 2, Skool Love Affair. Skool Love Affair I feel is a very important album for BTS at this point because it's literally their 3rd album, and all I can say about it is this album has the fucking sauce. For their 3rd album, they have truly outdid themselves, and they have not outdone themselves on a single standalone project since. I will make the number 2 ranking make sense when I get to number 1, but let me talk about this album first. This album is basically perfect. I really don't have anything bad to say about this album. Not one critique. At first, I didn't like Spinebreaker, but I actually love this song now. It's so fucking fun to me. Tomorrow is one of their best songs, easily cracking top 5 for me. The production is phenomenal. The melodies are like blow in your fucking ears, and the raps has so much sauce. One of their best easily. And the rest of the album is fucking amazing too. There are so many things they do right on every one of these songs. Boy in Love is so fucking hype, like it definitely sounds like an old BTS song, but in a very good way.
배고파 너의 사랑이 난 너무 고파 되고파 너의 오빠 널 갖고 말 거야 두고 봐
Cypher 2 probably is the best rap line track. Like, just listen to how hard this is.
나 랩 와이퍼 완전 사이코 네가 달스러면 이만한 달스 사이퍼 네가 나이스면 이만한 나이스 네가 프라이드면 이만한 크라이슬러 내면 난 프라이슬레스 니들이 뭔데 내 랩에 니들의 식견으로 점수를 매겨 래퍼 여기 원피스 난 흰수염 너네
Where You From makes me smile ear to ear. It's just such a pleasant listen. And just the concept alone of the intro where all three rappers give their take on a love song. Like, I think that's fucking genius. I've never seen anything like it. This album is the perfect mix of hype moments and aura and actual substance, like it's fucking One Piece. Which there is a One Piece reference on this fucking album, by the way, so of course it's one of their best projects. The album is fittingly titled as it's kind of like, you know, what it's like to like someone in high school. Boy in Love is about being scared to tell someone you like them. Where You From is about seeing someone and immediately thinking, I have to get to know more about them. And Just One Day, one of the most timeless BTS songs, says we could do it together if we just have one day. Just give me one more day.
Can you give me one more day? I'm not asking you for a week. I'm not asking you for a month. I'm not asking you for a year. Can you give me one more day?
Spinebreaker is actually great social commentary on how flexing mommy's money is corny. This album says and does a lot. The meaning of the lyrics isn't the only thing to chew on here because this album leaves a lasting impression with their sound. There are many better BTS songs scattered throughout their discography, and I know that this probably isn't everybody's favorite, but I think bare minimum, this belongs in everyone's top 3 because I seriously can't find a single bad thing to say about it. It's just so consistently good, I cannot stress enough how good this album is. If you want a good ass album or even just a good introduction to BTS, this is it. This is what BTS is.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
But what could be better than this? With all this praise, what project could I really dick ride even harder? Number 1. Love Yourself, Answer. I feel like I'm gonna get a few eyebrow raises for having this at my number 1 because this album is in fact long. Most of the songs off of Tear and Her with 8 whole new songs. But the way they did everything was kind of genius. All of the thematically relevant songs are on the first disc. Songs 1 through 16 are all of the songs discussing the themes of the album. Disc 2 might as well not exist. There are good songs on it like Go Go, Mic Drop, Anpaman, but they also put the worst songs in the series on disc 2. So to me, disc 1 is the Love Yourself Answer album. The joys of love, the pain of love, and now the final piece of the puzzle, learning to love yourself. This is where it all makes sense. This is where the album's namesake finally comes into the spotlight. They cooked here. We get 5 solos from this album since only Jimin and Taehyung got them previously. Jimin talks about being fated to be with someone. Taehyung talks about hiding your true self for the sake of someone else. Jungkook talks about, guess what? Loving his brothers. Hobi talks about loving music and dance. Jun talks about the joy of loving and being able to love. It's human to do so, and that is beautiful. Jin talks about how he's the one he should love, and I very much consider Epiphany to be a sequel to his Wing solo, Awake. And Yoongi talks about it being okay to end a love that has clearly expired. Production and Jimin background vocals are nuts on this song, by the way. I'm Fine is clearly a sequel to Save Me. Save Me is about being saved by love, whereas I'm Fine is about saving yourself because self-actualization is the real prize. I actually am not the biggest fan of this song, and this song's existence on this album is the only reason why it was really hard for me to put this over School Love Affair. Because guess what? It's pop EDM slop. But it's not as bad as Best of Me, and after listening to it again, I actually do fuck with the song. Idol is self-glaze, which is extremely deserved at this point in their career. They say, fuck y'all, I'm the GOAT, I love myself, bum. And then, the song that embodies the album's entire theme, the song where it all comes to a close, Answer, Love Myself. I always love this song. I think it's really beautiful, and obviously it's about loving yourself. They say that in English, so it's not a hard thing to catch, but the rest of the song's lyrics really hammer everything in. They talk about how you deserve to love yourself. Everything about you is you, and you are beautiful. Your mistakes, your scars are all a part of who you are, and they too deserve to be loved. They say that loving someone else is easier than loving yourself, but the path starts with self-forgiveness and knowing that you are to be loved, if by no one else, then by yourself. I think that there is no better way to end this series than by this one song. I super ultra mega bawled my eyes out when I was reading the lyrics for this video. Is this album as good as Skool Love Affair as a standalone project? I actually don't think so. I think they both have very high highs, and this album does have lower lows, but the lows do not take away from the highs of this album. This album is not perfect in itself, but it is the perfect way to end their magnum opus, the Love Yourself trilogy. And for that reason, along with most of the songs being some of my favorite in BTS's discography, I think that this is the best BTS album. Hey guys, firstly, I just want to thank you guys if you made it this far. This has definitely been my most ambitious project, and I've worked really hard to give you guys the best final product that I could. I hope this video has given some insight into BTS for the unfamiliar, and maybe even sparked some curiosity and interest in giving their music a try. Again, listen to Love Yourself Tear or Skool Love Affair. Those are the two albums I recommend the most. Or listen to the BTS mix. I made this mix like 5 years ago. It's kind of like the best thing I've ever made. It's like 6 hours of my favorite BTS songs, and they're all like woven together pretty intricately, and there's really good transitions, and yeah, listen to that. I want to once again reiterate how much I love BTS and their music, and me critiquing some of these songs is in no way me discrediting their work. They write and produce all of their own music, so it's crazy to think about how much music they actually have and how much of it is actually phenomenal. They are my favorite artist, and by the time I'm finishing up this script, I'm getting ready to drop a band on some HYYH tickets, and I'm beyond excited to hear what they have to give us next. I'm so excited for HYYH. And I'm also beyond excited to show you guys what I have to give next. I want to put out a lot more videos and stream a lot more this year, so any and all support means the absolute universe to me. Let me know if I should talk about HYYH when it comes out. I'm more than happy to do so because I've been waiting on this fucking album and I'm ready to give my opinion on it, and it's not even out. Let me know if I should do more discography deep dives like this, whether in K-pop or not, and just in general, give me feedback on the video. We know what you liked, what you didn't like, etc. Thank you guys again for watching. Do all the things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace! 요즘은 사람보다 동물이 좋더라고 느껴 자멸감 임종을 앞둔 노을 같아 밤과 새벽을 달래준 light Where's the dawn 근제도